Okay, I think I'm going to start because it is 1:15, so if anybody comes, they can come in. And I'm sure that they'll see this exciting presentation on the podcast that we've just found out won't be through what we thought it was going to be through, but hey-ho. Okay, so my name is Xanthi Callis. Good afternoon. Such a huge group. Thank you very much for coming. And what I'm going to be looking at is employability skills. The idea of looking at employability skills is really to help you know the steps or to maximize your chances of getting that job in the end by doing certain things in preparation for. So what I want to do today is just give you an overview of what you should be thinking about. And one of the most important things is research. Researching the job, researching the company, and finding out what those essential skills are that they're looking for, that you then focus on skills you have that will match your skills. It then is about personalizing or tailoring your CV and cover letter so that you make an impact very quickly on the potential employer, the recruiter, as they'll probably take about 20 seconds-ish to scan your CV. So you need to put the information they want to see there fast. This will hopefully increase your chances of getting invited to an interview. I shall go through some of the presentation skills, the preparation work you need to do, things you need to think about before and on the day, and then summarize. Okay, so it is a marketing exercise. It is about you selling yourselves. It's not about leaving it to chance or to luck and to cross your fingers and hope everything is going to be fine. It is about you knowing what you need to do in order to get in there and grab the attention of the recruiter, of the employer. And basically there are two questions that any employer wants to find out. First of all is, can you do the job? And they will see this from your CV, from the skills you've quoted, how you've laid it out. They will see this. And the next one is, do you want to do the job? And the way you're going to show enthusiasm or interest is through your cover letter. And often we do say that you should tailor your CVs and you should personalize them for the company specifically. Because if you send out a general letter or a general CV, then it's a recipe for disappointment. How many people have sent out a CV without a cover letter? Well done. And do you tailor your CVs when you send them? Okay. So it's about preparing then. It's about preparing your CV so that you are going to grab the attention of the employer, as I said, because if you are one of, 100, 200 students or graduates applying for the same job, and there is an increase of how many people apply for the same job, you want to stand out. So by looking at, let's say, researching, and researching is the company, the job, you start with the job advert. It has clues, it has information that you can use. One of the ideal things you can use are keywords that they use, the language they use, and by using that language, you give them something that they are familiar with. You have the job advert, you will have some literature, company literature. You look at the things they say, the way they say them, and you use it. It's a bit like, because they're going to scan things, they literally scan, so they're looking down. If I was to bury your name in an A4 text, and you scan down into that text, How quickly do you think you can pull out your name? Has anybody ever seen their name somewhere? Yeah? When you see your name, it's familiar to you and it catches your eye instantly, and that's what you want to do. So you use the language that's going to attract that attention. So it needs to be effective. You also need to know what your unique selling point, the thing that's going to differentiate you, the thing that's going to make you stand out. And in researching the job, it may be that you just have the job advert, but sometimes there are application forms that you need to fill. And if you ask the company to send you the application form, they will send you also the job description, the job specification. It is wise to have a look at these, to read these, to find out what are the essential skills they are looking for and the experience, and then match them up with what you have. But you have to know what you are good at. So if I was to say, if you can write down 3 of your strengths, can you just write down 3 of your strengths? How quickly you would write down your strengths? Good. You have many, many strengths. And tailoring your CV is about pulling out those strengths that match with the job you're going for. You are obviously not going to go for a job that you have no skills, so you have the skills for what you are going for. Let me use the clicker. Okay, so it's about standing out. It's also about what are you going to do to differentiate. If you think about all those graduates that are kind of going for the same kind of level of degree, maybe want to first, have a first, the same skills and knowledge, you need to do something, or you need to find something that will make you differ. So what might that be? You are the only ones that know that, but you have to do some research on what you do, your past hobbies, your interests, things that you've done that will show you have certain characteristics, that show you have certain abilities beyond the curriculum, beyond what you're doing at the university. So it's about standing out from the crowd. Some of the places you can find information, I think I've said this, but the other thing that you can do with researching the job, is if you know anybody who works in the organization, social networking is a good one, because you can you can kind of connect with different people across different departments, different social groups, people who know people. You may know somebody who works in an organization. It's about tapping into that information and trying to find out something more. The more you find out about the job, obviously the better you are going to be equipped with what you are going to put on your CV or how you're going to format your CV. How many people actually wrote 3 skills? Well done. Did the other ones give up, or you got 2? Well done. Well, 2 is better than the others that haven't actually owned up to actually doing them. But it's about knowing what your strengths are, and you have to write them down, and then you have to show evidence of how you have them. So your CV then needs to be short. It needs to be 2 pages. It needs to be concise, and it needs to be have short, snappy sentences that actually get to the point, that tell the other person that's reading it, what you can do and how you match with what they're looking for. So you use those keywords I mentioned that the company are always using. Do you like my picture? It's not the size of the CV, it's what you put into it. So the format then, there are many, many formats. There's no real good way or one perfect way of doing it. It's how you will do it in order for you to make that impression, to grab the attention of your reader. If you're going to use a personal statement, some employers are not very keen on personal statements, profiles, but it is optional. It's optional if you want to put it in there. And if you do, you have to focus it. You have to show how you are an asset to that company. Show the value rather than put a vague string of adjectives, you know, I'm an energetic, motivated person, blah, blah, blah. You actually make it focused. As I said, it's about demonstrating your skills. A lot of recruiters recommend that as graduates or as students looking for maybe internships, a skills-based CV is probably the more ideal, because you can put your skills, your strengths, which I'm hoping that you will get used to, you know, listing what your skills are so you know how to sell yourselves, because it's a marketing exercise about you selling you. There are certain standard things in a CV. I'm assuming you have CVs. How many people have a CV? Okay, so there are standard sections in a CV. Apart from what I've just shown you, you put your education, and one of the things that is beneficial to graduates is their degree, your grade, the title of your degree. That will probably enhance your CV. Your employment history, if you're going to write employment history, you put it in chronological order with the most recent, the same as your education, the most recent. So you structure it in a way that's going to show you in the best light. So the first page is going to be the most important. And as I say, you need to keep it short. So you need to make a good impression, and you need to make that very, very quickly, because between 20 and 30 seconds to scan a CV, they may not even take that long. So you need to put something there, show that you are what they're looking for immediately. Demonstrate your ability to write, because you are showing an ability to write when you put together a CV, you structure it. The first page impact is about putting everything that is important on that first page. So your skills need to be on that page, which is why I'm saying a skill-based CV is the best for graduates or students, people looking for an internship. How many people are looking for an internship for this summer? Okay, so have you sent anything out yet? Okay, so good tips here to send it out and you'll get a job. So what you need to do is make sure that visually it makes an impact. It's nicely structured. It's easy to read. You have to make it easy. Keep it simple. Keep the fonts, not too many kind of changes in the font. And make sure there are no spelling mistakes. They are unforgivable. Mistakes in your CV and your cover letter are definitely a no-no. Also, ensure you have a professional email address. sexysue@hotmail.com is not going to be very professionally sounding. So you have to have a professional email. And I say these because I have looked at many CVs, and some of them are emails that are inappropriate for professional use, okay? And I've also seen CVs where they put their skills, a kind of a little paragraph on the second page. Now, the important thing about a CV and a cover letter is, in fact, the cover letter may be more important because you have to make an impact with that, is that if you don't make an impact with a cover letter, they may not even get to the CV, okay? So if they ask you to send a CV, you need to send a cover letter, although in most cases there are application forms. And you do the same research. You have to find out what the job entails, what the company is doing, something about the company. The more effort you put in, the more you maximize your chances of getting an interview, okay? I have to get used to using my clicker. Okay, you use action words. Action words in your bullet points that I said. Did I say that? No, it's the next one probably. Action words. So action words like liaised and organized and delegated and planned and improved. Words that show action and create an impression of you as a dynamic individual that is engaged in the skilled activity. So that's what the impression you want to make. Now, for those that I asked if you can write the three skills, next to those 3 skills, you have to find at least 2 or 3 bullet points of evidence that back up that claim that you have that skill. Okay? So you have to do something about backing up whether you have excellent communication skills. Putting excellent communication skills and great teamworking skills are just not enough. They don't actually tell the reader very much. So you need to write 2 or 3 bullet points of how you have them, examples of the way you used communication skills. Maybe it was within a group work in the university. Maybe it's a part-time job that you have and you deal with customers. How do you have great communication skills, excellent communication skills? Show the employer. And if one of the skills that they're looking for is communication skills, that has to be one of the skills that is on that first page of your CV. So you've done your research, and the research tells you what the essential skills are. Your CV, the way you personalize it or the way you tailor it, is finding out where these skills you have, they match. So rather than send out a general CV to every company telling them about communication and teamworking and whatever, you find out what they want. Do they need analytical skills? Do they need creativity? Do they need, I don't know, negotiating skills? You have them. You're developing them. If you haven't developed them, that could be something that you could put as a plan, as a goal to develop, because these are things you are learning at university, you're using in the outside world. So it's not skills you don't have. And never lie on your CV. It will come back to haunt you. So it's not about lying, it's about being creative of how you use your skills to show an employer you match. Okay, so for those people who did the 3 skills, you then need to write 2 or 3 bullet points of how you have them, okay? A skills-based CV might look something like this, okay? So you'd put your personal and contact details at the top, and then you'd have a title, skills profile, and under the skills profile, you'll have your 4 strengths: communication, teamworking, etc. Under that, you would put those bullet points of evidence. So a line, a short, snappy sentence of evidence of an example from, that indicates, that demonstrates your ability and that skill that you have. I've mentioned the education and workplaces that you've worked in. The institution's name and the company name need to be in bold so it shows up, okay? And the font size, on average, should be about 12. You can have a little bit bigger, the titles, but please, no 8-size fonts. Nobody can read it, and you'll put the reader off anyway. So there is an average, and there is something, what they expect, and you need to kind of think about it. So it might look like that. That might be the first page of a CV, okay? Your name at the top, your contact details at the bottom. Rather than use the whole, a quarter of your page telling the person who you are and your address, use that space to show the skills you have so they immediately can see. You grab their attention immediately. You make the impact. Avoid sentences, full sentences, I am good at, or I do this, that, and the other. Avoid paragraphs. It just deters the reader. They do not have that long to actually have a look at your CV, especially if they've got 200 others. So you've got to think about these things. In the case of graduates and students, hobbies, interests, additional information is very important. But what you have to remember with any of these that you add, that you put on your CV, is they need to be relevant as well. And rather than a string of words like you enjoy reading, travel, and socializing, you actually need to write a sentence to say maybe how. How do you like traveling? Do you like backpacking? Do you like going with your family and friends? Depending on how you enjoy traveling, will show different skills and abilities that you have. So you need to show a little bit more than just traveling, okay, or reading. Say a little bit more. That will also may be used in an icebreaker in the case of an interview. So those are the kind of things, and these kind of hobbies and interests may be what you can pull out that will make you differentiate from other students. Maybe that's what's going to make you stand out. Were you a captain of a sports team? You were involved in the student union. I don't know, mentoring young children, reading, helping them read and write, etc. A mentoring scheme. All these things will show some kind of abilities and characteristics in you that may make you stand out from all the other CVs that might just have the first degree, the skills, the knowledge that most graduates will probably have similarities. So what will make you stand out? That's what you need to be thinking about. And you need to do that on the first page immediately. So it's about thinking about transferable skills. You do have lots of transferable skills. Things that you've developed in one field that you can then use in another field. Okay, so things that you've done at university, you work in teams, you have to deal with cooperating, collaborating, conflict, negotiating, maybe influencing. These are all things that you are developing without realizing you're developing these skills. Time management skills. All the deadlines that you have to do, the assignments at the end of the semester where they all come at the same time. It's about planning, prioritizing, organizing yourselves. So it's all these different transferable skills that you have that you can actually show how you have developed them. Also, an ability an ability and a willingness to learn is something that they need to see that you have. So you need to show you've got an ability to learn. So in answering those two questions at the beginning that I said, that what employers are actually looking for is whether you can do the job and you want to do the job, your CV will show that you have the ability to do the job because the skills that they are looking for, you've done your homework, and it is worth putting the effort in, okay, to do the research, find out what the skills and experiences, what they need, the responsibilities, and then show them how you have them. And then the cover letter provides you the opportunity to convey your motivation, to convey that interest in the company and in the job that you want to do. So the cover letter. As I said previously, in many cases where you send a CV with a cover letter, the cover letter is the most important because you have to grab their attention right at the beginning, okay? And generally speaking, there are 4 paragraphs that you need to put in a cover letter. A cover letter should be 1 A-size paper. It shouldn't be too wordy so that it kind of takes the whole page. Nicely written. It also shows your ability to write a business letter, okay? So the first paragraph, you would introduce yourself, who you are and why you are writing. It may be in response to an advert, maybe some website job vacancy, etc. You say who you are, a second year graduate, etc., the degree you're doing, the university, a little bit of who you are. The next paragraph is about why you want this job, what it is about the job, your passion and interest in the position and in the area that you are applying for. The third paragraph, and I've got it looks like that, my little letter. The third paragraph will focus on the skills and the experiences you have and how they match with the job position that you are applying for. So they can see immediately the skills are similar. Use their language. Make sure that you've researched the company. Different companies, if you look across the company literature, they will say things slightly different. Use the words they use, rather than come up with something, of your own. You want to be creative, so you say something completely different. Stick to the language they will recognize immediately, because that's going to grab their attention, something that's familiar to them. And the last paragraph is that paragraph that you show you've done the research. You've got to tell them why you are interested specifically in that organization. Why are you interested in them? And also, it's what you can bring to their table. What value are you going to add? How will you be an asset to them? Okay? So that's where you're going to show your interest and your motivation. That's going to help them look at your CV, or rather get them to look at your CV. And that's, in this letter, you will also direct them to your CV and say, as you can see in the CV, blah, 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 so they can see more information about what you have written very concisely. It's not something you write straight away and never think about it again. You write the letter, you go away, you come back, you read it, you make it more concise. And rather than repeat yourself in all paragraphs, you make them structured, and you make those 4 paragraphs that are going to say all the information very briefly, very quickly, get to the point. Okay? The letter needs to be persuasive. Now, what you need to be aware of as well, there are ways of ending. When you know the person's name, dear Ms. Brown, you end with yours sincerely. That's a capital Y and a small s. Okay? Because students tend to put capital Y, capital S. It's a capital Y, a small s. If you don't know the person's name, it is yours faithfully. Again, capital Y and a small f. Any questions? Was there? Okay, so the cover letter. So that's how you personalize things, because we tell students to tailor them. You cannot really tailor something unless you've done the research, unless you know the information that you have to put in there. A general letter, as I said, is just a recipe for disappointment. Sending the same letter across all companies, regardless, is not going to draw anybody's attention. You can see it's just a general letter. This is different from the speculative letters that you can send to companies, and even then, you still need to write why you are interested in that particular company. And once you start writing your CV and your cover letters, it actually becomes easier, because you're going to understand, you're going to know your own strengths and know how you're going to sell yourselves. And then it's just changing slightly the company, maybe the company language, just to show you are focusing it on something specific. And the idea is that if you put the effort in, then that will lead, to an interview. Just quickly on the application forms. How many of you have filled in application forms? How many of you have left the personal statement area blank? It is the most important part of the application form. And I know students leave it blank because they're afraid to fill it in, thinking, well, what am I going to write? Well, you sell yourself. Just as I described how you sell yourself on a CV in the cover letter, you sell whatever it is they're looking for. You will have done the research. You will know what the job description is, the kind of duties, responsibilities, the skills that they need, etc. You will know all this. It's about you understanding you. What are my strengths? What experience do I have? What are the transferable skills? How can I put them in that personal statement to boost it, to make me stand out, because it's all about standing out from the rest. Application forms are all the same. So they're going to just read the same thing over and over until they get to that final page, personal statement. They call it all different things, but it's that blank piece that they say 200 words or 250 words to additional information. Sometimes it's additional information to back up the application form. So it's about you Selling yourself, but how you're going to stand out. Know your unique selling point. What is it? And that will increase your chances of getting an interview. Now, I know interviews can be very nerve-wracking, things to go to. A bit like presenting. How many people were nervous presenting today? Or rather, how many people were happy presenting today? That's usually, well, there you are. In such a full room, one. Okay? So it's about going into it with the mindset that this is a two-way process. The company is going to interview you, the recruiter, to find out if you can do the job, if you want to do the job. So they're going to look for your enthusiasm, your interest. But you also are going into it thinking, do I want this job? Do I want to work for this company? And in a way, the interview is a little window to the organization's culture. How they treat you in that interview may make you feel, actually, I don't want to work for them. Because there are cases where instead of being a conversation, a two-way thing, you feel like it's in an interrogation. So you go in there with this, they're going to interrogate me, this fear. So go in with the mindset that it's a two-way process. You are interviewing the organization as much as they are interviewing you. Kind of calms the nerves a little bit. Okay, so before the interview, there is a checklist, and it's kind of what we've already said, but there are things that you need to, we're assuming you've been invited to an interview. It's good to let them know that you will be attending, and then do the research again. Remind yourself of the company, what they're doing, what they do. Find out as much as you can about the organization, its client, the customer base, whether they are expanding, whether they're merging. This will help you stand out as well, because they will see that you are interested enough to actually find out something about them. And there has been, recruiters have actually mentioned how some graduates may go into an interview and haven't even bothered to open the homepage of a company, okay? So these things sound obvious to people who do them, but so many people avoid doing them, and you should be doing these things. You should know where you are going and who you might be working for. Also, think about what points you want to get across as well. Go in there with a question or two. If they are interviewing, I don't know how many people they can interview in a day. Let's say they're seeing 10 graduates, or they're interviewing 10 people back to back, which may be an awful lot. There is this recency and primacy effect. The person that comes in first and the one that goes in last will be the one they remembered. So if you are in the middle, do something that's going to stand out. Ask them a question that they don't expect. Show that you've done your homework. A question might be what makes you stand out, what will make the impression, or how knowledgeable you are, maybe of the organization. Again, it might make you stand out more than somebody who will not do that or who hasn't done that. So these are things that you can think about, and of course there is something about your appearance, and make sure you know the location. Some people know how long you need to get there and actually do a dummy run sometimes. Photocopy all your application forms so that you know what you've said. Keep a record of what you've said so that you know. You also need to know what your CV is, what CV you sent. Always, always keep a record so that you have a copy of it so you know what you've said, basically, in a nutshell. You can also find out what kind of interview it will be. Who will interview you, the role in the company that the person has. They may be structured interviews, behavioral, competency-based interviews that might ask questions, tell me a time when, so that they can pinpoint if you have the skill or the competency. It may be an interview within assessment centers, so it may be other exercises and things you have to do. Usually larger companies do that, and they tend to tell you and prepare you. But if they don't, you can ask. And sometimes asking shows that you're interested, so, I've said this, so I won't I won't over bombard you with research, okay? But it is, you do need to research and know as much as you can about the company, because that's going to help you in the interview. It will also help that being prepared, you are calmer. It's a bit like being prepared for a presentation. If you prepare, if you rehearse, it makes it easier. Do people agree? How many have ever gone into a presentation, maybe not today, but a presentation that they haven't been prepared for? How does that go? I know, you don't want to talk because it might be recorded. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this today if I wasn't, cornered into coming, but here I am. Not really. No, I'd love to be here. Okay, so find out, as I said, find out their vision, the products, and this will help you provide examples, you see. This will aid the kind of examples you need to give them so that you show that you have the skills. You go into the interview saying, I am the person you're looking for, I'm the candidate, I have what you want. You go in with that mindset and not the mindset that says, oh, I'm not particularly keen, let the other guy have it. Okay, so you've got to be confident that it's your job. Let's forget this, I've said it too often. Another thing you can do is you can prepare commonly asked questions. And we do have a list of common questions. And part of maybe the next week's activity in the seminars will be giving you these questions and actually helping you practice them, because actually preparing them and preparing how you might say them in an interview will help you. Because actually saying them aloud is different than saying them in your head. Some of the questions, so something like, tell me about yourself. Now, this is kind of a question that kind of is asking you to outline maybe briefly your kind of life, your career life. You have to keep things relevant to what it is. So it's not about telling them a woe story, It's about keeping it in context. Summarize any work experience, any kind of interests, hobbies, achievements that are relevant to what you are there for. And highlight these achievements, show them that you are the person they want. These kind of questions are questions that are trying to tap into whether you've done any research. They won't ask you all of them, but they might ask you something like, why do you want this job? These are kind of classic questions they may ask just to find out if you have done any research on them, because they want to know if you're interested. This is how they know. This is how they'll find out during the interview whether you're interested, whether you're motivated, enthusiastic, and you've got to show that, with your answers, with your body language. Body language speaks louder than words, and we know that. So be interview aware, which means make sure that the interview arena is not the first time you hear yourself saying the answers to a question. Prepare. Hear yourself saying aloud. Practice hearing yourself. Saying it in your head is not the same. It's insufficient. And you will know that from presentations that you've gone in and you haven't been prepared. One of the things that makes us nervous to present is when we go in unprepared. Some people can wing it. Most of the time, those people that can wing it are usually just waffling and saying things and going around and around the houses. They look confident doing it, but what are they actually saying? Okay, so it's about getting to, being concise and getting to the point. Hear your answer. Speak it out with friends. Speak to yourself in the mirror. Just tell yourself the answer. This is the question, how would you answer it? And hear yourself saying it. It helps you vocalize it, it helps you articulate it, and it helps you become more confident that you know your strengths and you know the examples of how you're going to prove the evidence that they're looking for. So, also prepare your own questions. Go into the interview with one or two questions that you want to ask. Again, the more research you do on the company, the more you will be prompted. These questions will come to you because of the information you will have found out and some of the questions that you actually do want to know, because you're going into that really wanting the job. You have to want the job, otherwise, you know, what are you doing? So doing the research actually helps you select yourself out of a job as well. You may, when you're doing your research, realize that actually it's not for you. The company is not for you, for whatever reason. So the research will help you improve your CV and your cover letter so that you're matching the essential skills they need with the skills you have that will lead to an interview, but it will also help you know that if that's the job for you, because sometimes people do select themselves out. So handling questions, some of the things that you can ask in the interview. If you're not clear, you can ask, you know, if the question is not clear, you can ask for clarity where necessary. Pause and think before you actually answer, but avoid pausing too long because you don't want to appear that you don't understand. Just a little bit, rather than rush into an answer, think about it and then answer, you know, and it's all about saying the right things. Where there is a question and it's a yes and no, because, you know, interviewers too can be bad interviewers, and they can ask questions that are closed, where really they should have expanded, you know, ask you kind of probing questions to find out more. Expand on it. Give examples rather than just answer yes or no. Expand and give them more than they asked for in relation to what you are looking for. Giving them a positive image of yourself. On the day, now, preparing the content and what you're going to say and all that is fine, but on the day, you have to think about how you feel, and body language is very important here, because our body language is what can let us down. Even just standing straighter will give you more confidence. So think about on the day what you need to be doing. So your appearance, you can even psych yourself up